Capadona-Schmitz with PR 2020, and welcome to Part 2 of Driven by Content, a 5-part beginner series into content marketing. Today we're going to discuss the role of social media in your content marketing strategy. While many people may understand the benefits of creating captivating content pieces, without building reach, your content won't travel far beyond the place you've published it on the web. This is where social media comes into play, in building what we call content plus community. We're here with PR 2020 Inbound Marketing Manager Laurel Milner to talk about social media's role in your content marketing strategy. So Laurel, social media, you spent a lot of time in this space. Tell us a little bit about it.
Social media is really just, consumer-generated content on the web, Web 2.0, that whole general concept.
So things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, those
all
platforms.
A part of social networking.
Okay, so we're today talking about content plus community. Tell us a little bit about the state of the web and the publishing through the web.
Sure. So the state of the web right now is really just that it's given everyone the opportunity to be their own publisher. You don't need an editor anymore. You don't need a book publisher. If you have an internet connection, a blog platform, a social network, you have the opportunity to develop and publish your own content. So where that kind of becomes a problem is that there is just this flood of content available on the web and no checks and balances for what the quality of that content is. So as a content marketer, you need to think about really developing the content that is of the higher quality and sharing the content that's of the higher quality as well. So really thinking about not just developing content for your audience, but if you're reading stuff and sharing it on social networks, not just sharing every single article you read, but sharing the best of the best to help your audience, help your networks filter through.
Okay, and this is understanding where your audience are online
Absolutely.
As well. So it might not just be Facebook and LinkedIn.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, any industry, any product these days pretty much has a really passionate community around it, and a lot of them are going to have their own place on the web that may or may not be on, Facebook, LinkedIn, those big social networks that everyone kind of talks about.
Okay.
So focusing on the platform instead of the tools.
Okay. So how do we tie content and social media together for content and community?
I think the first thing is to just use social media as an opportunity to understand your audience better, monitor the terms they're talking about, monitor the kinds of questions they're asking, and really use that as a driver for the kind of content you're developing so that it speaks to their needs. Realizing that optimizing your website is only going to go so far. So while you can use the right keywords in your blog posts and things like that, without having that social network in place and the people that you're sharing your content with and that you read their content and they read yours, you're not going to have that network of people that are a great asset to you by consuming your content and then sharing it with their networks and then them sharing it with their network and having that trickle-down effect that then gets more links coming into your website and just gets people talking about your brand to boost you up in the search engine rankings and get people looking for you.
Okay, so are there businesses or examples out there of people combining content and community together to make it work?
I mean, there's definitely the pioneers like, Chris Brogan and Gary Vaynerchuk who established themselves early on and really taught a lot of other people how to use these things. What's interesting now is seeing how that is translating to the business world and how businesses are developing content and using their communities to, sell their product and establish themselves and their brands. Companies like HubSpot do this extremely well. They develop multiple kinds of content through blogs and videos and webinars, and it talks about things that are relevant to their audience and then that really kind of sell their products as well. Companies like Yelp do a great job of encouraging their community to develop the content for them and giving them incentives to do that. So they have things like the Yelp Elite Squad that rewards the highest contributors to the website to keep that content coming and keep it staying fresh and keep the community involved and engaged. And then, recently there was the Old Spice example, which was a short-term campaign, which is, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over time and if it turns into sales, but they turned an advertisement from television into a social video campaign where they answered their customers' questions for the Old Spice can. So just a creative use.
Okay, so we can see that this might work for a larger consumer brand. What about the B2B space?
In B2B, content marketing can be a huge differentiator because there's not a ton of people that are doing this quite yet. So looking at it from that regard, as not only developing the content, but having that community that's sharing it, and engaging your prospects and your current customers in that community to establish trust and build the relationships. In B2B, it's all about like how you feel with that person. It's a much more personal connection. So using your content in the community to nurture leads by sharing information with them, and to build loyalty by not only sharing information, but keeping track of your best customers, and just seeing what they're sharing, so that you know what they're interested in both personally and professionally, to continually be that one-to-one personal connection that they don't want to part with.
Sure. Now, let's say a business understands the benefits of starting a blog for their website, or creating an ebook or an online case study. But then when we talk about social media, it's kind of like, what's the ROI?
Right.
It's a little bit harder to understand. So
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I think one thing to consider is that there's definitely ways to tie social to financial incentives and financial results. But looking at the bigger picture, social can have a huge impact on things like your brand. It can be a big risk management tool by knowing what people are talking about, at least by monitoring your customers and your employees online. Also establishing that digital space for yourself, so that people are looking for your brand or looking for your products, then they're finding you because you have all that information out there. The biggest thing is to establish your own brand's objectives and goals and measure against that. For everyone, it's not always about sales. If you're a startup, maybe you're looking for an investor. So thinking about what is my measurement and what's my yardstick for success, and measuring against that through things like analytics and obviously lead generation and sales. The bigger question is, what's the ROI of doing nothing these days? Is there a competitor that's going to come up and take you out online because they're doing things smarter and faster and different, and connecting with the customers that you're ignoring online?
Okay, so tying it all together for your content marketing strategy, how important is it to get on Twitter and get 10,000 followers, or what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly important to have a presence, but I think it goes back to the earliest conversation we had about quality versus quantity, and thinking about who are the people I need to reach. Not I want to cast a huge wide net and reach everyone I can, because the real benefit here is that you're able to reach the right niche audience, the people that really care. You and I are both really big fans of Joss Whedon, and he once said that he would rather make a show that 100 people needed to watch than a show that 1,000 people wanted to watch. So just, I think having that kind of mentality is a good thing to go by. For anyone that is interested in getting started or learning more about social networking, there's a ton of resources available, both online and offline. HubSpot offers some really great resources. Mashable has good how-to articles. There's a couple other blogs that we'll link to. Books like Trust Agents and Groundswell are other good resources. And then too, I would just say getting out there and trying it for yourself. Seeing what other companies are doing that you might want to emulate, and then testing the waters to see what works for you, what resonates with your audiences, and then adjusting your strategy going forward. I also like to think that we try and do a good job on our blog at pr2020.com/blog to talk about social networking and using social media for business. And then also my contact information's on there, Laurel at pr2020.com, or at Laurel McKenzie on Twitter. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach me directly.
Okay, thanks, Laurel. In our next episode, we're going to talk about search engine optimization and its role in your content marketing strategy.